get into a job, you find other people to bring them in, and find opportunities for, here, bro, check this out, go to school, get into this program, plug in here. It was bringing people together and elevating people to go down this path of help, of changing. We had to continually grow.
Yeah, grow.
You know.
So I'm gonna say like my passion of this was because I came in the system before you, and I don't know if you know this. It was like 1978. They actually put out that if you spoke Spanish, you got a ticket for insolence. So insolent was you're disrespecting the guard. So it was an automatic no yard or no gym. So for speaking Spanish. So the Latinos that were there automatically, and I even crazily with acrylic paint that poisoned my arm, tattooed the Puerto Rican flag on me, put it on my shirts, on my hat. Good afternoon. We're here again with another episode of Unshackled Building Bridges, December 14th. So we welcome you. Our guests today are Jason Maldonado and José Pizarro. My name is Ronnie Carrasquillo, the Director of Operations, along with Gilbert Morales, the President, who's doing the filming. Our podcast is designed to let people tell their story. We bring you here today to hear your story voice, and that's what we're doing. So I have a brief history note. I asked these brothers to come here because they're long-standing leaders of the Latino community. As I reflect back, now that I'm released from custody and thinking back how things evolved, these are brothers that started things, and I want to recognize them as that. So I was blessed and fortunate to be with them when they showed their leadership passion when it first started. I reflect back to when both of these brothers' lives were put in danger because they were wanting to change the narrative of how we related to each other in the incarceral world and our ethnic differences. And that's what it was all about. So when they actually decided to sit down with what they would call opposing parties, there was a danger to it, and there was threats to it, and sometimes physical violence where people wanted the status quo to stay the status quo. So our theme today of this podcast this is a continuation of last 3 weeks ago, of Max Serta and Carlos Vega's story. It was viewed on our podcast, and we were called the Hispanic Culture Exchange Committee, which evolved to Latin Culture Exchange Committee. One day we'll have a speaking event on the difference of Hispanic usage at word and the Latino word. I speak about this because I see it as the base foundation how you brothers became forceful peacemakers through cultural awareness. And I say at the time you done this, it was unheard of for enemy street gangs, which all of us came out of street gangs as kids, putting us into the system, and you worked. It was unheard of to work with what they would consider to be your enemies, and you guys changed that theory. You had the heart to step out there and change that theory and change that narrative. So you helped mold a new future that's evident today. So when I came from the incarceral world to the society and seeing Jason working on the south side and Jose working on the north side, Max working on the north side, and yet they were under one umbrella and feeding each other's organizations, giving certificates to brothers and sisters, holding peace circles with each other, payrolls, paying people's rent, and I realized this started 40-something years ago, with them sitting down where we were at. So it started behind in the penal institutions. So you work with others to unite the north side, south side. That was you guys' cultural visions. So I welcome both of you to tell us about yourselves, and then we'll share some questions. So one of you can go either way. Jason and I just want to know your names, who you are, a little bit about yourselves, and this is what the theme is. You go, I'll go. No, you go. Hey,
this is how it was in the system. My name is José Pizarro. I'm currently the director of Safe Streets at the Alliance of Local Service Organizations, which is a violence prevention agency. I did 18 and a half years in the system, went in as a young person, about 16, came home around 35 years old, and basically grew up in the system. I remember going in, and I was probably about 4'7". I was a little person, you know, and you know, I grew up there. Learned a lot from people like Ronnie and others like Max and Charlie, you know, realizing the potential that we had, and then kind of utilizing that potential to create a knowledge base with people in the system. And then the end goal was for them not to see each other as enemies, but to see each other as brothers. And I'll digress.
My name's Jason Maldonado. I'm 58 years old, and I currently work for the Will Grundy Medical Clinic. I'm an outreach team lead. I work assisting people that are experiencing homelessness. They're one of the most marginalized populations in society. Getting involved in this in the Hispanic Cultural Exchange Committee was I was brought in by Carlos Vega. He asked me to participate in the committee. As being somebody there when I was incarcerated as a young person, I was always into educating myself, reading, every day was trying to make a day of learning something new. And it was just as going through doing that, I realized that a lot of things that we were experiencing was as a result of our common experience of racism and coming from poor communities or not having the education or knowledge to realize the things that we were going through. And so that was part of the reason why we started being involved in the committee, wanted to change people's concepts and ideas of who's really your enemy, and then it wasn't each other.
That's it. So I'd like to ask, because we can focus on, there's a painting right here, a mural right here, and I believe Jason painted this mural?
We all painted it.
So
Yeah,
We're all involved.
Yeah, we were all involved in painting it.
So, and how many you have stored now? How many?
Oh,
you have stored?
there's 26 large paintings like this. Some of them, there was original 5 frames were made, and then I just kind of kept the frames and I started recycling frames. Though that's on state bed sheets.
That's painted on state bed sheet.
On state bed sheet. Yeah, state bed sheet. We take the sheet. We put it in water and stretch it out, and then we use regular primer paint with this fabric in the paint with the primer. It forms into a canvas, and it's a canvas. Yeah.
And so the original 5 was because we just didn't want to come out to do a presentation without a background. Right?
With a prop.
We wanted a prop, basically, and so these images, right, spoke to the people we were trying to get to, right?
Yeah, they're all cultural.
It was cultural, right? And so everybody identified with it, you know, and that was the whole theme of it, you know, to get them to identify first, right, and then be open to conversations next, right? And that's what these did, all 5 of them, and then 27 now. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how old is this mural right here?
We were just talking about that.
88, right?
Yes, we made these in like 1988.
88?
Yeah, 87, 88.
87, 88.
Yeah, a good 35, 40 years, huh?
Yeah, so there's, you see the figures on the side, the silhouette figures on the side, those are 10 committee members. There was 10 committee, actually there was 12 on the committee. We had 2 advisors, which are kind of our mentors, which we want to give acknowledgement to, is Don Taylor and Louis Rosa.
And then we had the 5 and 5.
Yeah, then there was a 5 and 5.
5 members of each side.
Yeah, they were on the committee.
So out of them 10 guys, I don't know which one gave me orders to go to the kitchen for 3 days and 3 nights. Me and Jose, and rolled 2,000 pastelillos.
We had pastelillos, but we brought culture.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the things that we know to be true is that when you break bread with somebody, they let their guard down. They open up to the possibility of a conversation. And that's what that was. And when we did that, everybody looked forward to that.
It was movies, it was art projects, it was games, sports competitions. It was we did presentations, we had
Outside speakers.
We had outside speakers come. We had bands come in. We had dancers come in.
It was cultural.
So we had people from the mayor's office came and.
I remember some of that like lightly, but you will never forget rolling pastelillos at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, to roll them, and then because they're so popular of a food, you had to safeguard them because they would come out missing. They would come out missing, and it was not nice. So
it's true, they were eating.
Yeah, we had me, Jose, and Enrique. What was it? Burgos.
Yeah.
Rolling pastelillos.
Yeah.
So that was a time. I just wanted to acknowledge that part.
That you worked hard?
Yeah, we worked, and I had to cook 100 pounds of rice, and we had to do the plátanos.
We had to do all that.
Cook the plátanos. There was 3 of us that we pulled off the cooking side. You know, so it was a good time.
It sure was.
The part that I liked about it a lot was that when the feeding finished, there was so much extra food, and Carlos got up on the stage, and so basically the younger generations, which was us at the time, why don't you guys let the older men that were in the system, let them take all the food, because we got around and we got different food. So that was a benevolent of giving, you know, let them have it, and they were happy because we had tamarindo, the juices, Bustelo, we had all this different stuff that the administration gave us money, cultural stuff to our culture. They gave us all this cuisine stuff. And then instead of us harboring it, keeping it,
we shared it.
We just passed it out. It wasn't ours, it was for everybody.
Well,
so
it was
interesting concept.
All the funds came from the inmate benefit funds, which was there for us anyways.
Well, correct.
It was a matter of like
tapping into it because it's
the same thing we're doing out here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we're doing out here. We're tapping into the funding that's supposed to be there for us.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know?
Well, it was the work. I don't know if you remember. They gave you guys a minister. Was his name Perez or something? You remember, from Peru or something like that, to Godinez, the warden said, I'm gonna give you this guy to work with. I don't know if you remember that. So even though it's there, inmates trust fund and all that, it's you that went to the work to knock on that door and say, hey, you know, and you to call up to bring that food. So you guys did the footwork. When I look back at it right now and seeing you guys working in the organizations you work in now, and then it's like I call street language, blew my mind, you could say, for Pizarro Jose to hire a girl in his office that actually was in programs with Milatoya. So here it is that he came home 25 or 30 years before I came home and started these organizations. So now when we came home, the people that are associated to us, here they are giving these people jobs. I'm like, wow. Or here they are, hey man, you need money for rent, or hey man, you need money for clothes, and you're like, oh man.
One of the things that we knew to be true is that when you're in the system and you're about to come home, it's fear of the unknown. You don't know what the foundation's gonna be, you don't know what the footing is gonna be for yourself. And we wanted to make sure that we were opening those doors for individuals that were system impacted, but wanted to come out and give back. Because a lot of this for us is healing. You know, we're still healing, we're traumatized. And so because of that, you know, we're able to engage formerly incarcerated individuals and high-risk individuals at the same time in the same spaces, you know, and bring to them a knowledge base that's different, you know, that's in real time that the young people identify with. You know, they know us, they know history of us. And then that for us was advantageous to allow them to come in and learn.
And we never got away from the concept of it being a cultural committee. From the very beginning, we've always, even as we evolved out here into working in the community, that was our primary focus, it being a cultural committee. Because as we come to realize that culture is what cures us, and having that as a common denominator, a common theme you can be from this neighborhood or from that neighborhood, but you're still Mexican, or you're still Latino.
That's right.
And we still come from these same areas together. We still have these common cultural themes that run between us, that binds us together. So we found that as that being the common denominator, we all celebrate together. We all come together on these days together. This goes beyond what your problems are here in the community or of you fighting with each other. This you should look beyond that. This is who you truly are.
I'm looking forward to 2026, what gets created from now, these meetings and from your programs and collaborations of what can we do more, because like I'm looking at you were the founders, the beginning stages, and doing your work, and now as government is shutting down a lot of nonprofit monies and a lot of things that allowed us, like you said, it's using their funding to do work for our culture, but you have in this day and age, no, you're not getting that no more. So now where do we go from here? How do we go from there? And we're
To
going
answer your question, Ronnie, is I think what we have to do is see the future differently. We have to pivot and create a different way or a different strategy, right, of meeting the needs of the people and community, but now doing it with, a coalition, right? Bringing coalitions together, agencies and groups in the community, that can come together and put aside those, biases and prejudices that we have, and see things for what they are, right? The big picture. The big picture is
the need of the people.
For the people, because right now, right, there's so much economic strife and political strife in our communities, with these ICE raids. They're impacting everybody, not just people from Mexico or other countries, but they're impacting everyone. They're traumatizing people. Anytime you get somebody that comes in and takes your mom away and they leave you in the car and you're only 11 years old, I think for me, society is going in the wrong direction. And so for us, right, for the things that we're doing, we have to meet the moment, so that means we have to step up, and then we have to do it differently. And the only way to really do that is to bring all the minds together into one space and create a strategy.
All right, here goes the questions. You ready for these hardline questions?
Sure, let's go.
See what we got. Let's find out.
Let's go.
My first question, either one of you's answer and take turns answer, but I want to know, do you look at the work you put in on the Hispanic Culture Exchange Committee, Latin Culture Exchange Committee, as your beginning stages as community leaders, even though you were incarcerated? Was that your beginning stages of opening your mind to becoming, because we couldn't say at that time, I'm a leader. We didn't look at ourselves at that. We just did the work. I did me.
I think it was a part of a evolutionary process for me as an individual, because I was the way I thought about things was probably always different, and then just being I realized then that we would go, like we were talking earlier, we would go to the law library and we would listen to people give seminars about history and culture and politics and community concerns and issues, and then I realized that we talk about Latino unity and Black unity and us being together, but the only way in which that things were ever really going to happen that way is if we can put these differences aside and work together. So this, when I got approached by Carlos to become a part of the Latino Cultural Exchange Committee, there was an opportunity for us to work together. And so we learned a lot from each other, from our advisors, from Carlos and from Louis Rosa, from Don Taylor. They advised us a lot. You gave us books. You gave us books. Jimmy Soto gave us books. You know what I'm saying? You encouraged us to go to school. All of you guys, we felt we were doing what we were supposed to be doing by doing that. That this is what it was always meant to be, to come out here and to build those bridges and cross those fences, because we're supposed to be doing this together as Latinos, as people, as human beings.
Yeah, I think the reality for me was, like, before I went in, I was all over the communities. Like I was everywhere, Lakeview, Humboldt. I was everywhere because that's what I want. I want to help people. It was different though. I was part of the Logan Square Torch Club, and the Logan Square Boys Club on Palmer and Kenzie. I was part of the Torch Club, and they were starting to, try to turn us into leaders before we went into high school. And so I already had that. The seed was already there. What wasn't there, right, is this notion of how to make a difference in a space. And then I get system impacted. I go in the system, and then I started seeing. I ran into a brother named Dickie, who started, hey, read this. Hey, read that. Right? I'm in SEG. I'm reading these books. I get to Stateville, and then here's the committee, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. Culturally, I started saying, okay, I want to learn more. And so I was like a sponge. Learned about Puerto Rico, the impact of Taínos, learned about slavery, started learning about African culture and how they became, who they were in spaces now in the US. So all those things started planting those seeds. And then I realized, you know what? He's listening to the same salsa song I'm listening to. Perceived enemy. He really wasn't my enemy, but I perceived him as that, right? Because I had this notion that if you're part of whatever this is, then you were my enemy, when the reality is you weren't, right? That's when I realized I need to get beside myself and understand that you have to treat people as individuals, and you have to treat them like human beings and learn from them, right? And so I have relationships to this day that are 40, 50 years because of that, because we put aside those petty differences that we had, and we realized that we were brothers the whole time, And so then we come home. I get home after doing 18 and a half, and I come across brothers working in ceasefire, and I looked at them and I said, oh, you guys got that from us. You guys got that from us. The committee. We taught you guys how not to see people as enemy. We taught you, right, how to help people in spaces, because we started doing like the GED stuff. We encourage people to go to school and read books and learn and develop. And here we are, we come home, and it's the same guys that we started bringing into the cultural piece, the committee, and the committee was showing up all over the system.
Yeah. Well, while we were there, we were looking for people that were like us. Yeah. There was guys that we were picking to recruit because we see them. There was a whole group of us that all went to school. As we went to school, we took Mara Dodge's Latin American history class.
Mara Dodge, yes,
right. We took her history classes, and if you could sit there and listen to Latin American history or the history of this continent, you're going to realize that how much struggle, war, and things that have happened, and how can we be true to say that I'm a Mexican or I'm a Latino and still view you as my enemy when all of this has occurred historically? You can't look at it that way.
Cut in, so we pivot from here to because I was one of the persons that would let's start these classes in the library and all that like that, and I remember the days when they wanted to get me, they wanted to harm me, if you get rid of him, you wouldn't have to go to school. So that I was advised a lot of times or forewarned, man, you need to slow down with pushing education on the brothers. But I had a lack of education. I know we needed to pick up our game so that we could do the case law and do all the stuff we needed to do. And then when you're labeled, as they labeled me and say, oh, you're a leader. So even though that's now to us, it's a righteous thing that you are a leader and you are a leader. But at that time, for you to be a leader, they would try to capture you and lock you down and hold you down. So you had to fight off from doing the right thing, and basically we worked under the table, you would call it. We worked behind closed doors, and then to bring these things off. So for those barriers that they put in the way, we hurdled past them, we worked past them. So I want to get to the second questions, and I know that, and this one's going to almost relate to that right there. This question you can both answer. I said, when you look back, has it ever dawned on you about the danger that came your way and how you stood up against the naysayers, that because of your post of uniting people, it affects our community up to this day. So, because I remember the day that you guys had your own minutes, you had your own connections to the world of who you're gonna bring what people in, you had what food was gonna come in, and actually the street gangs had said, we need to see them minutes, we need to have your connections, we need to have that, and you guys basically stood up, no, you're not gonna get that, and physical harm came your way. You
Yeah,
know, so
so-
that's my question, when you look back, you know, about the danger, you know, that how you remember seeing that.
I remember, so one of the things I remember was reading books about, when you think about other countries and how they were being circumvented from within, right, to destroy a movement, that's how I saw that. I saw that circumvention coming in, right? I saw that people who did not understand what was happening, couldn't foresee the future, right, needed to destroy it or control it. And that's what that was. They needed to control it. Because at the end of the day, you know, they said we belong to them, not the other way around.
You weren't
right?
independent
We weren't
yourself.
individuals,
Yeah.
right? That because we represented this, you have to abide by those rules. But here's the reality of that. We've always been radical, right? We've always been the type of people, Latinos, have always been the type of people that stand up, right, when there's disservice being done. And so we weren't afraid of taking the hit, right? Because at the end of the day, you weren't getting the minutes. That was really what we were saying.
You didn't give it up.
We
I
weren't giving
remember
up the
that.
minutes,
Yeah.
but what we did say is that you're welcome to send someone who you appoint
Yeah.
to sit on the
Sit.
committee
There
with
you
us.
go. I remember
And
that.
they can learn. And you know what? They can go back and tell you everything because we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Because we shouldn't have to do that, right? This is not the mob, right? This is not the group.
They
This
should-
is bigger than that.
They should have been able to trust us that we were gonna do right in
Yeah.
there. They felt that others, that other people were manipulating us, that we were being swayed different kind of ways, and that was never ever true. Cause we were actually, the majority of us were the ones on the committee that were doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We were there and we dealt with it fairly equally as how we would expect them, that we would expect them to expect us to do it. You know what I'm saying? That this is how it should be done. We just didn't want the committee to be corrupted.
I also didn't-
Yeah, we didn't want it to be corrupted. We wanted it to move forward in the direction of bringing people together and not being used for whatever other
And I had enough of
means.
people telling me what I can and can't do. Like, you know, we had the officers already telling us that. I grew up with you, I know you. You're not gonna tell me what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
Okay? None of you are. Okay? You're not walking in my shoes. And guess what? This benefits you too. It's not just about me, it's about all of us. You know?
You know, as you think about this, and we'll go to another question, let you say what you're gonna say. When I think back about it, it kind of chuckles me that even though the word was culture to everybody, because it had to be that picture, from my standpoint of view, it was, I was always the one, and I won't say not only me, but sliding you in to get you to get us educated. Because that culture, even though it was culture, and like you said, it was you breaking bread with these people, that when they put their guard down, once they put their guard down, you educated them. And a lot of them brothers went home with what you educated them with and stationed themselves in society. And like you said, when you went to see what they're doing, we taught him that. So that's what it turned into. And you haven't stopped yet. So you wanna go what you were saying? I'm gonna go to the next question.
Okay.
Okay, so you know, that's a gratitude to me. Thank you, that I'm spiritual, so I would thank the heaven for that part, that we didn't stay in that stage, and some of us took sacrificial name calling. You could say, people say, oh, he's not this no more, because it was a big no-no to step yourself away from what you went to prison for. So how can I keep being the same thing when I know it was not a good thing, and I had to evolve from there to go forward. So now the easiest thing to do is tear up his reputation and make him be a a nobody and all that like that. So we had to walk through that. But in the end of it, look what's existing. So my third question is, we're getting close to the end of this, is as I look at you brothers now, and my knowing of the decades of cultural work you put in, have you ever pinpointed the reason for your passion that lasted over 40 years? That's the thing.
I think for me, it was the killing of our people in spaces. I think it was, we were losing leaders in like Puerto Rico and Cuba and different spaces, right? And I just couldn't stand authority. I think the fight for me was authority, right? That notion of people standing on my neck and not letting me breathe, and then always constantly dictating to us, you know? And so the ability to educate someone else, to understand when they're being repressed or oppressed, and understand when they're being played by a system, right? For me, that was the fight. You know, educating them. And then building that foundation that we're seeing today with brothers, right? Because right now, we're all breaking bread together. If you look at this society right now, with all the new brothers and sisters coming out of the system, they're all breaking bread together. They're hanging out, they're smoking cigars, they're having drinks, they're going to parties together. That was unheard of back in the day. So
as I mentioned earlier, like, we were always looking to find other individuals. So that's really what it was. Coming home, same thing. You get into a job, you find other people to bring them in, to find opportunities for. Here, bro, check this out. Go to school. Get into this program. Plug in here. It was bringing people together and elevating people to go down this path of help of changing. We had to continually grow.
Yeah, grow.
You know.
So I'm gonna say like my passion of this was because I came in the system before you, and I don't know if you know this. It was like 1978. They actually put out that if you spoke Spanish, you got a ticket for insolence. So insolent was you're disrespecting the guard. So it was an automatic no yard or no gym. So for speaking Spanish, so the Latinos that were there automatically, and I even crazily with acrylic paint that poisoned my arm, tattooed the Puerto Rican flag on me, put it on my shirts, on my hat, just to let them know. So you're telling me that I can't be who I was born to be, and that was offensive. So it just took me from 2 years before that and 3 years before that, when I was in society, they said you can't come to this school because you're Puerto Rican. So I kept being bombarded for being Puerto Rican. And then when I went through my trial, they even said, you're from Humboldt Park, you're prone to violence, to no violence, and that's why we're doing this. I'm like, I'm even taking the weight from living in Humboldt Park. So that was my passion of working with the brothers to say, put down that hate that you have, you know, and that to work together. We had to educate ourselves at that time, you know. So, and I'm gonna go close with this in closing. So I would say that from that, and when I think about that, and that's what we did, and you guys are still doing it. So in closing, I'd like to applaud both of you for your work and your stamina of building community for over 40 years. You participating in changing our history, and that's an applaud. So maybe one day when we get the funding, we can actually have some kind of banquet, whatever it is, and then I would be sure you, Max, Carlos, and those people even bring from Puerto Rico, Carlos, the other Carlos, and bring them to award them for, man, you guys sparked that spark. You guys sparked that spark. If they sparked that spark, then you guys took it to doing paintings. You guys took it to doing feedings. You guys took it from the incarceral impacted system home to get grant money, to even bring people home, to now launch them, and the trajectory out into society. That deserves, you know, a big applause. So, and if you got anything else to say on this, because we usually close with not a prayer, but I give a scripture, and there's a scripture that fits you guys as one of my favorite scripture of mine. So is there anything else you'd like to close with?
The only thing I really got to say is that it's been a privilege to work with all these different people throughout all of the years, and still to to while they're there, and then come home and then continue all being on this path together throughout all the different years. It's been a really good thing to do.
Anything?
I just want to say thank you
Yeah.
for the
Appreciate it.
recognition from somebody I respected for a long time.
Thank you. So what I would like to say is, before I left, my last few years, people would say, "Hey, I know you're going home. Let me get your number." And I used to just look at them. Of course, I didn't have a phone number to give them, and I wouldn't give them. Some people I would give my family, but I would say to them, "Hey, are you going to be in the business of helping people and helping the brothers that are in here when you come home?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, you don't need my number because you're going to see me. We're going to be in there, so you don't need my number." So, as far as the scripture I have, it's in Isaiah, and it says, Isaiah heard the voice of the Lord. He was Isaiah the prophet, and he heard the voice saying from God, basically, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Who will go and do for us?" And then Isaiah said to the Lord, "Here I am, send me." And I look at it like that was you guys, and that's the way I look at it when they say, "What's your legacy going to be?" I was that person that they said, "What are you going to do? Who are we going to send to do this?" And we were always the ones to go knock on that door. So much so that they used to always say, "Who are you being a lawyer for now? You will never have a problem, but you're always in our face." And that's you guys, always in their face. So we're going to get 2026, and it just happens to be 2026, you know what I'm saying? Between the lines and 26 drawings and all that, so we're going to have more than 26 blessings this year.
All right, that sounds
You know what
good.
I'm saying? Sounds good. This is our year. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. We thank you, Gilbert, for hosting this. We thank Max Serta for allowing us to use his mansion, his space, and there we go. That's the hood call.
The hood call.
Here we go. Thank you very much, you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cool.
Ronnie, see you it off from the inside wall. Bill's got a vision that still stands strong. This is Unshackled Building Bridges. Till next time.
You been watching it, guys?
Never know.
Guys, see ya.
Ronnie seen it all from the inside walls. Gil got a vision that still stands tall. We don't beg for seats, we build our own. Bridge by bridge, we're bringing them home. Chains fall, bridges rise. We walk the dark with open eyes. No second chances, just transformed lives. Unshackled souls